Hello YouTube, this is T Walker, aka Tanner, doing a video today about or thoughts about how I might run skills in my new system, or my system. I've done a few skills videos before. Like I said, in this week I have off from school, I've been really trying to focus on skills and see a way to make them interesting, and I think I might have it, maybe, or something close to it. So, let me just describe a little bit before. Now, say I am Bob the Rogue. Alright, and me being Bob the Rogue, say I have 0 in the lockpick skill. And I come up to a door. Now, every challenge rating type thing, whether it's a door or a person you're talking to or something you're attacking, is always going to have a challenge rating number. And now let's say the doors is 2, right? This is not the number I have to beat. This is its complexity level, is 2. Now, since I have 0 in my lockpick skills, it doesn't mean that I cannot attempt to pick this lock. I can still do it. What it means is that when I do it, however, I'm going to roll 2 of, I have 0 in the skill and it's a requirement of 2, I'm going to roll 2 of these, which are d6s, but they are my complication dice. So here's how I'm thinking they work. On a roll of 1 to 2, they do nothing. Lucky you. On a roll of 3, 4, or 5, they give you a minor complication. And on a roll of 6, they give you a major complication. Now, it's up to the DM to decide what these complications do. He'll have a few guidelines and maybe some, suggestions on where you could take this. But, so, let's just do that right here. Bob the Rogue attempts to pick the lock. And, oh, look at that. He got a 2 and a 4, which means he'll have the 2 doesn't do anything, lucky him, but the 4 puts in a minor complication. Now, the main thing, this doesn't mean he fails. The DM could say, that minor complication is just enough to put you over the edge to make you fail, or he could say, you pick the lock, but, the person inside hears you. Oops. The DM is given license to say what these complications are. There's going to, of course, be ideas for what they could be, but it's completely up to him what is minor and what is major. Now, let's do it the other way. Pretend that Bob the Rogue has a 4 in lockpick. Alright? And of course the lock door is going to stay 2 again. So it has a complexity of 2, but his skill is 4. Now, he gets to roll 2 of these, which are skill dice. And what they are is they are the exact opposite of the complication dice. So on a roll of 1 to 2, they do nothing. Unlucky you. On a roll of 3, 4, or 5, they give you a minor event. And on a roll of 6, they give you a major one. So he attempts to pick the lock. Let's see. Alright, so he got a 3 and a 2. So he gets 1 minor event to add on to his roll. Now what does this mean, you ask? Well, the player gets to decide. There will be, of course, restrictions on what he can choose and can not choose, but when he rolls and he gets this minor event to come up, he gets to add in something. So he goes, okay, pick the lock. First minor event. Makes no noise as I do it. Completely silent. Now let's say the door is a lockpick of 1. Alright, so I roll 3 dice. Let's roll my 3 dice. And so, I've got, where is it? There we go. A 6, a 3, and a 2. Alright, so the 2 does nothing. I'll just drop it. that 6 is one major event. Now when I say major event, it's actually just double, it's 2 minor events put together. And the way I'm going to run this is you can either have the major event, or you can, instead of it, pick 2 minor events. So I've either got a minor event and a major event, or 3 minor events. So let's say when he's picking the door, he wants to go for the minor and the major. So he says 1 for his minor. When I pick the lock, it makes no noise. That one's gone. 2. Whilst picking the lock, I recognize the exact locksmith in town who made it, and he might be able to tell me who provided the money and who was able to fund this person, why they have a lock on their door. Major event. That's gone. However, he could have turned this dice into 2 minor events. Okay. Pick the lock, I make no noise. I pick it so well that nobody knows it's been tampered with. And let's think, another minor event. I, pick it so if I were to ever pick it again, I wouldn't even need to think about it. 3 minor events. And remember, the players are coming up with this, not the GM. The players. That's the point. Now, so that's the first part. But I also wanted, Samwise 7 RPG talked about the one-armed dwarf that he played, and how, of course that wasn't good mechanically. Well, what if it could be? With skills at least, I'm going to see how this runs, of course. I'm going to make a rule. You are allowed to use any skill you want to add to your kind of add to your skill dice rolls. Any skill you're allowed to. So for example, say I was doing the lockpick again. I'm allowed to add any of my other skills to kind of boost up that number, right? Under kind of couple conditions. The first is you have to justify it. You have to justify why you get to add this skill bonus into the other one. And 2, you have to explain and roleplay it out. Let me give you an example. I am again Bob the Rogue. The lockpick has a complexity of 5. I've got 4 in my lockpick skill, but I also have 2 in city lore, and we're in the city. So I tell the DM, using my knowledge of the city and, its layout and architecture and how it was built, and this seems to me like a common lock in the city, so I'm going to attempt to use my city lore and my lockpick skill to pick this lock. Me as the DM would think, that sounds like a good explanation. Sure. So now that I have 2 in my city lore skill, and I have 4 in my lockpick skills, that gives me 6. Remember, the requirement was 5. So now when I do it, instead of rolling 1 complication dice, I get to roll 1 skill dice. So let's do that. And I get a 4. So now, instead of adding a complication, I get to make a point. Now, what this encourages, I hope, is you to pick whatever skills you want, because as long as you can justify it and explain and roleplay it out to an extent that makes your DM happy, the DM always has the right to veto it if it's too much of a stretch, but as long as it makes him happy, you are allowed to add those 2 pools together. Now let's take this into consideration with battle. I am fighting a noble. I have a combat skill of 2. It's meh. He has a combat skill of 4. That means whenever I attack or try to defend one of his attacks, he's going to either roll 2 skill dice or I'm going to roll 2 complication dice, depending on what he chooses. Now, say I have nobility lore 2. I'm going to say, as I attack him, I throw an insult his way that I think, because of my nobility lore skill, would most likely affect him. Alright, that's the first. I've justified it. Now I have to roleplay explain it out. So of course I'd be required to make up an insult and then shoot it at him. And then, as a DM, I would say, that works well. So that's pretty much the concept of my system. You can take any skills you want and pool them together as long as you justify it and roleplay it out. And I think this really does. It makes skills interesting because, one, you can have a whole bunch of unrelated skills, but as long as you can lawyer them right and justify them and really make it fun for the DM, you're going to be able to add those to anything you want. And also, you get to, if you are really good at something, you get to decide how it plays out. Kind of cool. So, anyway, that has been a little bit, or me talking about skills and how I'm thinking about running them. It's a raw idea still. I might trash it for something else, but I kind of digging it. So, anyway, tell me what you think. This has been T Walker, aka Tanner, and I'm signing off.